Dani Johnson.
98% of the population will end up dead or dead broke by the age of 65.
Dani Johnson.
The question I have for you, is that how you want to be? Is that the life that you want? Well, if you look at what everybody else is doing and you live the way they are, then that's what you're going to have. Why live under the burden of death? I say, look at what everybody else is doing and do the opposite.
Dani Johnson.
Hey, good day to you. This is Dani Johnson. Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. Hey, first of all, I hope that today, so far, your day has been awesome on purpose. Not every day gets to be awesome. That's for darn sure. And in fact, in all reality, some of the days where it is not awesome is usually when we have found ourselves in a communication war with somebody else. Even a situation where, miscommunication has somehow filtered in between maybe you and a loved one or a coworker, and you got trouble on the horizon. I found myself recently in that same exact scenario. You know, how you could say, well, here, let me give you the example. Have you ever said something meaning something else? Your words said this, but you meant this. You meant something else. Well, I hate it when I do that. Don't you? Don't you hate it when you do that? Because then people are listening to what you're saying and they will respond to what you're saying. But if you were thinking something different than what you were saying, and then you have an expectation for them to, there's an expectation for them to understand what you didn't say, it just creates a gigantic mess. So there I am. I'm leaving on vacation, and I tell my son and his wife, who happen to be staying at the house, that everything in the refrigerator was open game. Go for it. Eat whatever you want in the fridge, okay? However, in my head, I assumed they knew that eating what was in the refrigerator was, in the upper part of the refrigerator. That meant that the freezer was off limits because I had like several packages of chicken waiting for when I came back on vacation, so I did not have to go to the grocery store to be able to cook a meal for the tremendous amount of people that I cook for every night. So in that case, there'd be 8 people that I'd be cooking for the night that I got home, and so I didn't want. The day after I got home, I didn't want to go to the grocery store that day. So here I end up because I lamely communicated, saying the refrigerator is game, go for it. I did not say freezer is off limits. So here they're assuming the refrigerator means the full machine. Have you ever done something like that before? Where you gave incomplete instructions and then you try to clarify days later, but people are already moving on the first set of unclear instructions that you have given them. And now there's like, what? I hate it when I do that. What about you? The bottom line is this. So much of the stress that comes into our lives really does not boil down to finances. It really boils down to miscommunication. It boils down to how we communicate with others. No, Dani, you don't understand. My debt is my big problem. No, but see, watch. Let me show you this. Money comes from people. Money comes from people. And when money comes from people, well, how we communicate with those people determine the value in which we bring to the people. And if we have a tendency of miscommunicating again and again or being misunderstood, well then, my friend, we keep creating problems and stresses, which then decreases our value with those people. Let me give you an example. I work with a woman who very often will have an entire conversation go off in her head, meaning there's an entire paragraph, sometimes 2 paragraphs that go off in her head. And then she shoots out of her mouth 1 or 2 sentences, and none of us are following. Like, hold on a second. And so it's kind of a funny thing. I said, can you like give me the paragraph that was in your head before you gave me that last sentence so I can understand where you're coming from? So it's like this. She already switched topics and switched gears, but my mind was still in the last topic, the last gear. So she's asking me a new question that has nothing to do with the current subject in which we were talking about. And now there's all kinds of confusion and miscommunication that actually is taking place. So there's two ways to be able to handle this. Number one, I want you to look at yourself and say, am I a miscommunicator? Am I misunderstood often? Okay. Now you can do what most people do. And they say, no one ever understands me. You know, they want to blame everybody else for the reason why they aren't being misunderstood. Or they can learn how to communicate more clearly. You have to take personal responsibility. And so when I found myself in that situation with my son and my daughter-in-law, I was literally like, okay, hold on. This is totally my mistake. Clearly my mistake. I assumed they knew what I was saying. And it would have been so much easier for me to not assume, but to say clearly what I was wanting to have done. So, have you found yourself in a situation where you have been misunderstood? Are you currently in a stressful place where you, because of a lack of good communication, because of miscommunication, misunderstanding, now what is the result of that? Like, how much more stress gets created over that? 844-200-3264. Again, that's 844-200-3264. That is 844-200-DANI. D-A-N-I. Yeah. So, anyway, so I know this, that, and oh, by the way, let's go back to that. So you have two ways of dealing with it, right? So one can be that we are not, we get upset and we get flustered and mad because we're not being understood. So again, so one of them can be we play the card of the victim and we simply just say, oh gosh, you know, no one ever understands me. It's so frustrating. And we play the victim. Or we take personal responsibility and we say, okay, I obviously did not communicate clearly enough in this. And so I need to change what it is that I'm doing here and make myself more clear. Okay. Or you can get frustrated and ticked off and mad, and this also skyrockets your stress. And your stress being high decreases your value to those that are around you. They do. It decreases the value of those that are around you. Okay? So let's talk about that today. Let's talk about how you can decrease your stress through better communication. What does better communication look like? What does it sound like? So here's one thing that I can tell you right off the bat is you have to take personal responsibility. You do. You absolutely have to sit there and say, okay, how could I have said that differently? And the thing is don't just do that in your head, but ask the person that you seem to miscommunicate with often. Say, please tell me what I could have done or said differently so that I can make sure that on my end that I'm doing everything I can to help the communication between the two of us. So that's a simple thing to ask. So please tell me, not in a defensive tone, by the way, but please tell me how I could communicate with you better and what I could have said differently so that I could help this situation. That's the important thing to do is to be clear in solving the issue. Because so oftentimes in life, friend, you and I are people who we can continue to create stressful circumstances for us. We can continue to make people upset with us. We can continue to spur on others even into greater frustration with us by the way we continue to communicate poorly. So, are you currently in a situation where you've been miscommunicated to, or there are people around you that are constantly missing the mark with their communication? There's a lot of assuming that goes on. There's a lot of false expectations that are happening, and it just seems to spur on more and more and more pain, more frustration, all of that stuff. 844-200-3264. I'm taking your call. In the next, actually, 25 minutes after the hour, that's when we're going to actually open up the lines, and we're going to be giving some relationship advice, communicative advice in the workforce as well as at home. Because I know that we live in a very hostile environment today. And what I also know is that the people who possess the ability to disarm miscommunication, those people are the ones that have very high value. And those are the people that can solve people problems. And people who solve people problems are the ones that actually climb through the ranks. But those that cannot solve people problems are the ones that stay further down, not being able to communicate with anybody. So it's important that we learn how to do that. So let's look at and take apart one of the situations that you're in right now that seems to be very, very stressful with other people. What are some of the things that people do that are driving you crazy? Is it the spouse? Is it one of your kids? Is it all of your kids? Is it everyone you work with? Is it everyone at the grocery store? Do you find yourself in that place where everything and everyone is totally driving you absolutely crazy? 844-200-3264. That is 844-200-DANI. We're also going to be looking on Facebook for your questions. If you're more comfortable writing a question over on Facebook or telling us what the situation is and need help being able to solve that, we would be happy to do that as well. So we will read your question from Facebook as well, which is Dani Johnson Live. That's the page on Facebook. I want to see your life get easier. I do. I want to see your life become more filled, more fulfilled, more satisfied. And it is nearly impossible, my friend, nearly impossible for you to do that if you continuously find yourself in these situations of great frustration. So I want to be able to help you with this. In fact, I'm talking to myself on this one too, because I've had this situation with the same person twice where there's been like, hey, hold on one second here. Let's find a better way to be able to do this and moving forward, okay? Because you can't keep it happening. You know that, right? You cannot keep the miscommunication going forward. And you cannot expect the person in your life that's driving you crazy to stop driving you crazy. You can't. But what you can do is change how you talk to them. You can change how you react to them because you're in control of your reactions. I'm in control of my reactions. So that's where your life will get easier, is because you will be strategic in your response. You'll be strategic in what you say. And you also be strategic in what you expect for maybe that one that's driving you nuts. I mean nuts. 844-200-3264 or go to Dani Johnson Live on Facebook or Twitter. Leave your question or comment there. We'll continue with more right after this. The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.
There's just so much that she's done to help people, to help their children face the next generation with success, to declare war on things that tear families apart, and to look people straight in the eye and to tell them how much they mean to her.
There is no one else
like this lady right here.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
The house I grew up in, the kind of communication that happened was constantly hostile. And I mean hostile. Constant screaming. Constant fighting. Constant people being cussed out. And with that, that's what I learned how to do. I clearly learned how to scream. I learned how to fight. I learned how to cuss like a sailor, truck driver, Why do people always say that, by the way? Cuss like a sailor or cuss like a truck driver. Do they cuss a lot? Anyway, I'm telling you, I did. I did really, 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 really bad is what I did. And so in that, this was the communication skills that I picked up from the home. Yeah, it was a constant level of frustration and screaming, yelling like my dad, or at least the man I thought was my dad, 6'10", 350 pounds, and he roared like a lion, meaning there was never like a peaceful place of communicating. It was always at this high level screaming. And so here that when I got married, I found myself in that same level of communication. And I had to deal with some stuff from my past in order to learn how to be a better communicator. Because I found that everybody that I was around just right away, like my responses were just so heavy and hot and forceful. And I couldn't figure out why I had no friends. I couldn't figure out why people didn't want to be around me. And that's why it's so important when it comes to relationships, you really need to look in the mirror. Yes, you must look in the mirror. So oftentimes we want to say, well, I'm good at this and I'm good at that. But the reality is that we're not so good at this and we're not so good at that. And we end up, well, basically provoking bad responses out of others. I know I do it. And I'm probably safe to say you probably do it too. So today, let's work on improving those relationships, those communications, because I don't know if you realize this, but all over your life, there are people. Yes. And people bring a minimum of two things into your life when I'm talking about from a financial perspective. They bring money and they bring opportunity. And right now, you either work with somebody or for somebody. Either you're leading people or you're following a people. And in that, your communication with them is important for it to be solid and strategic instead of it being something that makes people frustrated. So I know this. I have to say I'm sorry a lot. Yeah, I do. And even if, for example, that I thought I communicated something clearly, and now I want to say, and I want to defend myself on how I communicated clearly, the fact is that if they didn't hear it correctly, it's both parties that were involved. So rather than me trying to force that person into saying, no, you were right and I'm totally wrong, because there's a good chance they don't ever want to say that. Do you like to say that? Do I like to say that? Do I like to say, and you say, I'm totally wrong. I completely missed the boat on that. No, in most cases, none of us like to say those things. None of us like to say that. So what should you do? Don't try to egg on and try to make somebody make the confession that they were wrong and you were right. But instead, you be the one that fesses up first. This is a higher level of leadership. And you cannot do that with this attitude of sarcasm. All right, of course, I'm wrong and you're right. Oh my gosh, how many times have I done that, especially in communicating with my husband? Awful, right? Yeah, of course, as usual, you're always right and I'm always wrong. Oh, here we go again. Have you ever done that or said that? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a higher value of communication. I am talking about something that brings harmony instead of frustration. I'm talking about you being in control of your mouth, your emotions, your mind, your heart, and therefore you leading you, which then pulls a totally different response out of others. I kind of wish there was a videotape of my life and your life over the last week, and we can look at the places of stress and we can see how we communicated with the people that are around us. And I think that video would tell us the truth. We probably have provoked a few things based on either our response or our lead in to what we were saying. When we continue, I'm going to take your call. Let's dive in and solve some heavy-duty communication issues that you might be having, and let's see how we can improve it. 844-200-3264. We'll continue after this. Call now, 888-757-8880. I'm going to send you our report on how to feed your family on $100 a week. Get this hot thing in your hand now, and you can begin to save hundreds of dollars just on your food bill. No clipping coupons, no way. I'm talking about simple little things that still, even my position, I'm still able to feed my family on $100 a week or less. You are going to learn how to do the same thing. 888-757-8880. Call now. Get your copy of this report.
Why don't you groom your kids for success?
What's the option?
Letting your daughter hang out with ne'er-do-wells and eventually bringing you a grandchild with a pierced navel?
Don't get a grandbaby with a pierced navel.
Listen to Dani Johnson.
It'll turn things around.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
I used to think it was everybody else. I never thought it was just me. I really thought that, gosh, why does he not understand me? When is he gonna get it? When am I gonna get it? That's the reality. When was I gonna get that it was not somebody else's job to get me? It wasn't somebody else's job to understand me. You know, we live in a culture that just wants to discard certain people in our life that we can't seem to get along with. Joining me right now in this next segment is a woman who actually was a single mother who had poor relationships in her life, and, well, she didn't quite know why. And you're about to hear a powerful, literally miraculous story about how she was able to turn bad, poor relationships into flourishing and harmonious relationships, as well as bring healing and restoration. Jane Mock from Abbott, Texas, thanks so much for joining us today. Hold on. Let's try that one more time. Jane Mock?
Yes.
We can hear you perfectly. Okay, awesome. Jane, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yes, Dani. I just wanted to share that over the past 3 years, I've learned how important communication is in relationships. I can totally relate with how you were with your husband, you know, always, no, I'm right, no, you're right, you know, back and forth. And finally realized that, first of all, we all have different personalities.
Yep.
And that we're not always right. And you have to decide what garden you want to water. Do you want to water the positive garden of solution or the garden of the problem? And when I decided that, okay, it's the solution, it's like, okay, stop. All we're doing is pointing fingers at each other.
Oh, gosh,
Let's start coming up with a solution. And when we do that, there's no more fussing and arguing going on, and it's so much better. The communication highway is open now to find the solution instead of just constantly nagging each other about the problem.
Yes. And Jane, so when you first came to DaniJohnson.com, you were living with your boyfriend. You had 2 kids. You already went through a divorce. And what was the relationship like with your children at that time?
It was horrible. I couldn't even get along with my daughter who lived with me, and it was because our personalities, her being a sapphire, myself being an emerald, which is completely opposite. I was constantly asking her the questions, why? Why didn't you do this? Or why can't you do that? Instead of talking to her in her language to try to learn how to motivate her to get done what I wanted to get done. And after learning that, not only using gems, but also your grooming, we're best friends now. And she's even come home now after 2 years of being gone again, and we've rekindled that relationship even more.
Wow. Okay, so for those that are listening for the first time, they haven't got a clue about what a sapphire, what an emerald is. So let me just kind of touch on that to pull people in the conversation. So we have this program called GEMS, and GEMS is a communication training that identifies the 4 different types of personality gems, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and what terminology to use with each one of them, and what kind of terminology they actually use, so that you can build a beautiful communication highway instead of one that's filled with detours or cliffs, potholes. You know what I mean? Because that's what it feels like sometimes to be communicating with people. So Jane was just saying that her daughter was the personality of someone that is like super fun and messy and very talkative, and organization is not their strength. In fact, that's their very weakness. But Jane, the mother, was an emerald, emerald and whose strength is organization and being on time. You know, so when it comes to, I don't know why there's an echo there. When it comes to communicating, when you have an opposite personality with somebody else, it's really painful, really, really painful. And so just as what Jane was saying, that she'd say to her daughter, why are you late? Why aren't you doing this right? Why? That her daughter's personality, when they hear that 3-letter word, they feel like they're being interrogated and they already know they're in trouble. And when that person feels like they're in trouble, they feel like they can't do anything right. They feel like they're just failing. They feel like nothing's ever going to do, they're never going to be able to please you. And so forget it. I'm out of here. I'm done. And Jane, and the funny thing about this is that we actually provoke rebellion from our children. Was your daughter rebellious towards you?
Oh, my gosh, yes. Everything I said, it was total rebellion.
And what would that do in you? What was your response to her rebellion?
Frustration, anger. I'd lash out at her, yell at her, scream at her, and it just caused it to be even worse.
Yeah. How did you fix this, Jane? How did you fix that? Because if your daughter... you're screaming at her, you're yelling at her, you're probably saying things that you could totally regretted. How did you fix this problem?
Well, first of all, I didn't fix it. God did.
Yeah.
But I had to figure out where I was going wrong in my life, get that right, and then learn to talk to her as a person, not just as, well, I'm the mom, so you have to do this. No, that's not right.
Yep.
You're maybe the mom, but there's still a way to talk to your children to get out of them what you want them to do. And that's what I started to do. It's like, okay, let's get on the same page here. What can I do to help motivate you more? Or ask questions.
Yes.
Talk to them. Find out what they're thinking, what they're feeling.
Yep.
And you'd be surprised.
Yep. In fact, I'm sure that you found that your daughter desired so badly to please you.
Yes, she did, and she still does to this day.
Yep. And yet we as parents can be constantly correcting and constantly asking that why question to where they feel like they're failing and they can't please us. And then it gets to a point where they don't feel like they ever will. And that's where we drive just a gigantic wedge with that. So, Jane, I'm so proud of you that you have been able to solve that problem, that you didn't just stay stuck, but that you invested in yourself, you learned new communication skills. You were not waiting for your daughter to change and finally get it, but instead, you, mom, you got it. You got that you needed to change. You needed to change how you communicated to her. You needed to change how you treated her. And I want to handle this right now because I know that there's people listening like, nah, man, I am the mom or I am the dad and my kid must listen to me. Let me ask you this question. How well did that work for you when you were growing up? What was your response, my friend? What was your response? Did you respond well when your father said, you do it because I said so. I'm the father, and therefore you're going to obey? I know what that provoked in me. That made me go, oh, really? I was cussing him out in my head. I was. And as soon as I got back to my bedroom, man, I let it rip out of my mouth. Did I let him hear it? No. But inside of me, there was nothing. I did not want to honor him. I did not want to respect him. When somebody demands respect, it doesn't make you want to respect them. You have to earn respect, even with your children. And if you want your children to be people who honor and respect you, you have to give what it is that you want to receive. So one of the ways to give honor and respect to your child is to listen to them, is to talk to them. It's the same in the workforce. It's the same. So the people that you want to gain respect from, you've got to respect them. And how do you gain respect from people? Be somebody that is interested in them. Be somebody that is asking them questions. Be somebody that is learning about them and learning the different communication styles that they have. Once you learn that, then you're able to talk to them in the way that feeds something positive. I love what Jane said. Either I'm going to water the garden of problems or I'm going to water the garden of solutions. When we water the garden of solutions, we're getting things done and we're not as frustrated. We're not dealing with as much stress. We're not dealing into who's right and who's wrong and pointing the finger. what is right is gardening that water of solutions. Jane, thanks so much for joining us and sharing your story about what's happened with you and your daughter. This is Dani Johnson. By the way, there's an entire book on our website for free that I'd love to give you if you are new to the Dani Johnson Show and you have not yet received First Steps to Wealth, your personal copy of First Steps to Wealth. It's the book that tells you exactly how I went from homeless to millions, now created wealth through various different businesses, but more importantly, doing that on 20 hours a week. Yes, 20 hours a week. I'm a mom of 5, grandmother of 5, vacation several times a year because family is much more important to me than work. But yet somehow I was able to pay off debt, increase my income, and do it without sacrificing any of my personal relationships. So I'd love to give you a copy of that book. Go to DaniJohnson.com. Again, that's DANI Johnson.com. It's right on the right-hand side. It says get your free copy of First Steps to Wealth. Your free ebook is available. If you'd like a hard copy of the book, a physical copy, you can dial 866-760-8255. Again, that's 866-760-8255. It will improve your communication skills tremendously. Go get your copy right now. All right, this is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more about decreasing that frustration of communication and getting better at it. I'm so blessed that I found what is in Grooming the Next Generation for Success. This is a book that is being taught in universities around the world. It's been noted as the best book on parenting that has ever been written. Crazy, if you ask me. But the point is that this thing gets results. Get your copy today, 888-757-8880. Again, that's 888-757-8880. Or go to DaniJohnson.com. That's DANI Johnson.com. Get your copy today.
So, politicians are all like, let me be clear, and I'll give you something you've never gotten anywhere else before.
How's that working for you?
You know what? She's tired of that mess. How about this?
You listen to her.
She brings you hope.
You make the change.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
Working with people, living with people, buying things from people. People are surrounding your life. Do you realize that? People are surrounding your life. Isn't that amazing? Somebody right now just said, okay, I'm out of here. Oh, no, Dani, it's terrible. Listen, you buy things from people. You work with people. You married a people. You gave birth to a people. Hello? Your neighbors are human beings, not robots. Okay? You buy your groceries, your gasoline, everything. Your entire life is connected to people. And there's 2 things that people bring into your life: money and opportunity. That's where money comes from. It comes from people, and opportunity comes from people. And people can also bring you like, nah, Dani, people bring me stress. They bring me frustration. People make me mad. People make me want to just pull the covers over my head and go back to sleep. I understand. Oh, Lord, have I been there. And I remember dreaming of a world where everybody was nice and everyone loved each other and everyone did good to each other. That's called a fantasy. And he who chases a fantasy has poverty waiting for him. People bring challenges, no question, especially when we don't have great communication skills. So what areas of communication are you currently dealing with that are frustrating you like crazy and that you're having challenges with? We are going to work right now in helping to solve that for you. Line 1, we've got Anna from Texas. Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Taking my call.
Yes, absolutely. What can we do for you?
Well, I have a really hard time with communication.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the story goes. This is I have a relative that used to live in Mexico, and he was going through a really hard time. His family was his dad was very ill, and then they didn't have no opportunity, and they couldn't get their medicines. And
so did you bring them to the United States to help them out?
Yes.
Okay.
We offered them a job. we talked to them. We agreed that, okay, this is the way we're going to help you. We're going to bring you here. We're going to offer you a job. And since you're just coming here, you can even live with us. We offer him a room.
Yeah.
I mean, we got everything ready for him.
Yep.
And then told him we're going to pay you this much. And then he's been here for 2 weeks. And then he started acting funny. So we talked to him and we asked him what was wrong with him. And he said he wanted more money because that was not enough.
Wow.
So he's doing very good. So we gave him a raise. I mean, it was a big raise.
Okay, Anna, hold on right there. So because he asked for a raise, wait a second. So he moves into your house. Wait a minute. Let me just back up. He's struggling in Mexico. You give him an opportunity. You give him a job, and you give him a room to live in, and he is complaining that he's not making enough, even though he is living for free in your house, and you have given him a job, and he's there for 2 weeks, and he is complaining that it's not enough? Anna? And then you give him a big raise because he's complaining?
I mean, he said, he mentioned that his dad was sick and that he still couldn't afford to send him enough for him to buy vegetables and
Anna, how much are vegetables in Mexico?
I'm not very sure.
Really cheap, Anna. Really, really, really cheap, Anna. And how much are vegetables in Texas?
Not very expensive.
Yeah. Anna, it sounds to me like you are being manipulated. It sounds to me that you are being played.
I really don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Now, like after that, he just said that he found another job, and then after
Yeah. Here's my recommendation. Good riddance. Love you. Have a great time in that next job. Bless you. And you need to get your own place. Heck no, girlfriend. That is absolute ridiculousness. Listen, I've been there. I've been taken advantage of before, right? So, someone can be in your life and they're like, oh, I'd love to come and visit, but I can't afford the gas money. Okay, I don't have any gas money. It's like, well, what did you do with the money that you've been making? You see, people's financial irresponsibility is not your responsibility. It's not your responsibility. Period. End of story. So here's the bottom line. The thing that opens the vault for blessing is never complaining. It's gratitude. If you had handed me an opportunity, I'm in Mexico and I'm struggling financially, and you gave me a bed to sleep on, my own room, and you offered me a job, my gosh, I would be like, oh man, this is helping me so much. What you're looking for from someone like that is gratitude. And gratitude is what gets a blessing, not complaining. And not using my sick father in Mexico that I don't even have enough money to send him vegetables, to send money for him to buy vegetables. That is complete nonsense. So you're being taken advantage of. And I would be deporting him back to Mexico and let him solve his own problem, because that is ridiculous. Being manipulated is actually hurting that man. It's hurting his future. And you cannot continue to help somebody who will not help themselves. So you are not his bank account. You are not his God. And you simply say to this man, you know what? First of all, we love you, which is why we took you in. And we were hurting for you and for your family, and we wanted to give you an opportunity. I'm so sorry the opportunity that we've given you has not met the standards you were looking for. I'm sorry if I've given you any false expectations at all. I'm sorry if the bed and the bedroom that we've provided for you and the job that we've given you, I'm so sorry if we communicated in any way bad expectations to you. So please forgive us, and I think it's best that you head back down to Mexico, or you find a different place to live that is more suitable for you, and that you find a different job that is more suitable for you. Because unfortunately, this is all that we have to be able to help you with right now. So we're giving you a week's notice. I hope you find what it is that you're looking for, and we will pray for you, and we will love you, and there's no bad blood here. But I bless you. You go find something else. That's my answer, Anna. You cannot be taken advantage of. That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. You know what? If you want to help people financially, then go find some orphans to feed with the money that you're giving to this man. Do that. Find an elderly woman who cannot provide for herself. Help her. We're talking to a ready and abled young person. Sorry, no go. That guy's got a lesson that he needs to learn. That's the bottom line. So you get the courage, mama, and you do the right thing, because you're setting that guy up for failure, and you're setting yourself up for failure if you continue on this path. This path doesn't end well, so end it now. It's important to do that. This is Dani Johnson. We're going to begin the second hour of the Dani Johnson Show right after this. Communication, man. It really is. It's the corner. It's the centerpiece of all of our lives. Either brings harmony or major stress and frustration. We'll continue with more after this. I just heard this amazing story. One of our clients had written us telling us that they had used job domination and unlimited success and has absolutely exploded their career. He said, Dani, I don't know where I'd be today without job domination and unlimited success. Listen, do you want more recognition from your coworkers? Do you want to be recommended to people all over the world? Do you want to be somebody that is highly sought after? Listen, if you're in a dead-end place where this gentleman found himself, but then learned new strategies and changed everything in his work life, and obviously this has resulted in higher bonuses and pay raises, you're next. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Job Domination right now. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Job domination. That's what you need. It's time for you to dominate the job market and break through the rut that you're in.
Dani Johnson.
98% of the population will end up dead or dead broke by the age of 65.
Dani Johnson.
The question I have for you, is that how you want to be? Is that the life that you want? Well, if you look at what everybody else is doing and you live the way they are, then that's what you're going to have. Why live under the burden of death? I say, look at what everybody else is doing and do the opposite.
Dani Johnson.
Welcome to Hour 2 of the Dani Johnson Show. Hour 1, we're talking about communication, actually miscommunication. That seems to cause a lot of frustration in our lives. You know, I found myself at 24 with a heart attack, a nervous breakdown at 25, and I hated my husband. I hated every single part of the man. He drove me crazy. And I remember the thoughts that were going through my head. Why did I marry this guy? I was so stupid for doing this. Yeah. And now I was looking at, being divorced for the second time at 22 years old, right? I got married at 21 to a guy that I knew for 7 days, and that failed within a few months. He takes off and leaves me with $2.03 to my name and a $35,000 debt. And then now I'm 22, I'm married again, and I already want out of this thing, okay? I want to be done with this thing already. So bottom line was that, I was asking for a divorce again and again and again and again, and I was just abusing my husband with my mouth. It was everything that was coming from my past, and there was nothing he could say or do that was right. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And I remember this conversation going on in my head again and again. How do I get out of this? Oh my gosh, his just very presence drives me crazy. I'm so happy to say that I had to learn new skills in order for that to change. And I'm also happy to say that he refused to quit. He just wouldn't quit. Now, it didn't mean that he changed or that I changed in that moment when we refused to quit, but it really was about that we had to come to some kind of resolution. And for me personally, it took a heart attack and a nervous breakdown. That's what it took. Isn't that lame? Isn't that just completely lame? It took me hitting so rock bottom. It took me coming to that place of near death, okay? I literally tried to kill myself. There I am with a cleaver and a chef knife, and I am trying to kill myself. And thank God my husband was a martial artist because he saved my life. But I just knew I couldn't continue in that same life the way I was living it. So I had to learn some new skill sets. I also had to heal inside. You know, so much of miscommunication or just bad communication between people really often has nothing to do with what's going on in the moment, but it has to do with what's gone on in our past. You know, especially if you've been abused by your father or neglected by your mother. Especially if you grew up in a home like I did, where there's so much like fighting all the time and overreacting all the time and hands flying and bodies being beaten. So that's what you're trained for. That's what I was trained for. And so you bring that into a marriage, or let's say that you came from a divorced family. So if you come from a divorced family, oftentimes children of divorced family, they won't commit. They can't commit. They don't go all in. They actually fear being rejected. They fear being abandoned. And then they communicate to people in a way where people will abandon them. People will reject them. So when I finally realized that I was the problem, that I was treating my husband with all of my anger and rage that I had from my childhood, because there was nothing that he had done to me, right? There wasn't like he did something really bad, like he cheated on me, do you know what I mean? Or he stole from me. He hadn't. But I was treating him like he was that person. And therefore, I was pushing this guy away from me. And again, I would come to the conclusion, if it actually ended up in that way, that it'd be like, see, he's just like every other man. They just leave, they abuse and they leave. They abuse and they leave. We get ourselves in these kinds of mindsets, friend. And when we do, we create our own reality. We live out our self-proclaimed prophecy. And that is a disaster. You know, the Bible says that we are to love one another. Love one another. Interesting concept. Oh, Dani, I love people. I love everybody. How well do you love the people you work with and live with every day? How well do you love? And the question to ask yourself is, how can I love better? How can I love better? That's a journey I'm on. How can I love my coworkers better? How can I improve how I'm working with them? How could I decrease their stress? How could I improve my performance, which actually helps them? These are important questions to ask ourselves. Because if we're waiting for everybody else around us to change, if we're waiting for everyone else around us to understand us, if we are waiting for people around us to get it, we're going to be waiting for a really long, frustrating time. We are going to live a life that stinks. So we seriously have to take a stop, pause, and a rewind and really analyze, what can I do to make the situation better? Here's one thing that I learned. Listen. To ask questions and to listen. Let's talk about the workplace for a second. When you have somebody that's on your team that is continuously frustrating you, there's got to be a disconnect in there somewhere. There's an expectation that has not been met. There is maybe something that you did or that you said that rubbed them the wrong way. And to you, it's no big deal. Why should it even matter? But the reality is that everyone has a bag of stuff from their past in them. So as I've worked with clients from all over the world, for example, women who were abused by their fathers have problems with male bosses or male coworkers, and usually problems with their husbands and their sons. So they have problems with all of these male people that are in their lives. And let's say you are a man and you have this person on your staff that you just butt heads with. There's certain things you say and do that actually trigger something inside of her that reminds her of her abusive father. So that's how she sees you. She sees you as the abusive father. She is expecting you to be abusive. Therefore, she communicates to you in a way that will cause you to be, in her perception, abusive. So how do you fix that? You have to listen. You literally need to take the time to sit down with that individual and say, I really appreciate you, and I appreciate you being here, and I want to know what I can do to communicate with you in a way that pulls the best out of both of us. I'm here to serve, and I believe that you've been brought here for a purpose, and I want to help you do better. So I don't want to help myself do better. So can you tell me what it is that I am doing that might be causing frustration in your life? And then listen. Listen to how they feel. Even go for something very specific. Let's say there's a specific task that they are just not doing, that they are just clearly it seems to you that they're rebelling against it. It's important to sit down and to listen. Just ask the question, hey, can we talk about this task? Now, I want you to know these are the things I think you do so well with. How do you feel you do well? Where do you think your greatest strengths are? Okay, and what are your greatest challenges? Ask what the challenge. Don't say what's your weakness, what you suck at, what you're terrible at, this mistake that you make all the time. No, we're going to call the mistake a challenge. And challenges can be solved. Challenges can get easier. We can make them better. Don't call it a problem. Don't call it a mistake. You want to say, hey, we've got challenges. Everybody has them. We're going to find a solution. You want to communicate to this person that you are for them and that you are not against them. Do you know how important that is? People want to know that you are for them. Even if it is this woman who's been abused by her father, and again, she has problems with all men in her life, friend, even if that is that person, then guess what? Then you can now be the new example in her life. And yes, it's going to take time. And yes, it's going to take work, and it's going to take effort. But that's the proper thing to do. That's what real leadership does. Real leadership will step in and say, here's what you're good at. Here we have some challenges. How can I communicate with you better? Tell me, what are some things that I do or say that just rub you the wrong way? Because I don't want to purposely rub you the wrong way. I believe you're here for a purpose, and I believe in your great skill set. And I want us to have a great working relationship together. You're going to have maybe several of those kind of conversations. But as you do that, you're building that bridge to harmony. You're building it to a good relationship, and that person's production is going to massively increase, which means that your stress is going to decrease. Okay? So that's one simple thing, my friend, that you can do. One very simple thing that you can do. And that is listen. Ask questions. Listen. Listen for what their feelings are. Look at the things that you can do that can make things easier. Because, are you attached to the way that you're communicating? No. Do you want results? Yes. If we want results, we're going to do what it takes. And that's where you got to weigh your ego with your bank account and figure out which one do you want to grow more, okay? Which one do you want to grow more? Do you want to grow your ego and being right and not listening and you're the chief, so you better bow down to me? You ain't going to go very far, friend. You're not. You're not going to grow your income to where you want it to grow. You are not going to have great harmonious relationships. You're certainly not going to be somebody that others want to promote. You're going to be somebody that people want to demote. And not only that, but you're not setting the right example. So weigh your ego with your bank account. You want the bank account to grow, that means you got to humble yourself. You got to humble yourself and quit overreacting to the person that's bugging you and just sit down, recognize the things that they're doing great. Well, they're not doing anything great. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. There's got to be something that they're doing right. So recognize that. And then, hey, it looks like we have some challenges. And again, it's going to take some time for us to learn to work together. And I'm confident we're going to be able to solve this. And I believe that you're committed. I'm committed. So we're going to get there. You can set up a whole new picture for how this individual views you. That raises your value, by the way. It creates loyalty, by the way. And loyalty in the marketplace, is one rare thing to develop. And it's not found. It's actually developed. So step up and be that kind of leader, my friend. You step up, be that person that actually can make a difference in other people's lives. And at the same time, decreasing your stress, decreasing your frustration with these individuals, and raise up some advocates that are for you instead of against you. This is Dani Johnson. We're going to continue with more of the Dani Johnson Show, talking about ways to improve communication to where it makes our lives better all the way around. I think we could all use that. We'll continue right after this. You want to succeed, right? But you do not want to fail God at the same time. There is a way to succeed from a biblical perspective, and it's far greater than anything you could ever imagine. Over 500 scriptures I studied to study money, everything that the Bible said about money. That's in the first couple chapters of Spirit-Driven Success. Not to mention leadership, working with people, growing a career, being used mightily in the marketplace, which is where Abraham, God used him in the marketplace. And Joseph, God used him in the marketplace. Moses, God used him in the marketplace. Daniel, Solomon, really all of the greats of faith, most of the greats of faith throughout the Bible, they all were in the marketplace. And God wants to show you how you can be used mightily by him in the marketplace. Right here, Spirit-Driven Success is where all of my notes are on how you can do that. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Spirit-Driven Success today.
There's just so much that she's done to help people, to help their children face the next generation with success,
To declare war on things that tear families apart.
and to look people straight in the eye and to tell them how much they mean to her.
There is no one else.
Like this lady right here.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Oh, gosh, isn't that so true? If that isn't a little sword inside of your gut, I don't know what is. We really are in control of what we pull out of others that are around us. So if you're having issues with bad communication at work, call me. Let's see what we can do to solve that. 844-200-3264. That's 844-200-DANI. Or you can write us at Dani Johnson Live on Facebook or Twitter. In fact, I've got a question here from Michelle Pruner. She says, my kids weren't even up for 2 minutes and they were already fighting this morning. How do I solve this? Listen, friend, I completely understand. We have 5 children and now 5 grandchildren, not to mention all of the people that we are responsible to in our office, 35 people that we have working inside of our office on a daily basis. So whenever you pull people together, you're going to pull all kinds of issues as well. And there is going to be fighting. There is going to be arguments and pointing the finger and people that are mad and bitter and all that kind of stuff. So how do you solve it, Michelle, with your sons or your 2 kids that are up and they're already bickering with each other? Well, I'll tell you what, with my kids, that was not an option. Was not an option. So here's what would happen. If they woke up and they're already going at it, that means that they carried something from yesterday or last week or a month ago into this morning. Because these 2 kids don't wake up mad at each other already. They went to bed mad. And we know that's not wise, right? It says, don't let the sun go down on your anger. And why? Because you wake up acting like 2 kids fighting with each other. That's why. Instead of waking up with, a joyous attitude of like, hey, let's hit the day and let's make the best out of it. So whenever I would notice that my kids were getting at each other, it's a time out, sit down, let's have a discussion. Let's talk and find out what's going on. And the way that I would do this is kind of like I would hold court with my kids. And here's what I would say. I would say, okay, this is basically going to be a court. And what I want each of you to do is I want you to share what it is that you have done in this situation. Don't tell me what Roman did. I want you, Cabe, to tell me what you did. And then Roman is going to tell me what he did, okay? So we are not going to be pointing the finger, but we are going to solve this so that we can be responsible and honorable and respectful to each other and get on with having more fun throughout the rest of the day. So sure enough, Cabe, you're first. Tell me what you did in this situation. Well, Roman, no. If that's how they're starting out, no. Let's try that again. Tell me what you did. Roman did something, and he's going to get his chance to say what he did. But right now, I want you to tell me what you did in this situation. So then they begin to tell me. And anytime they would start to steer over, then no, don't tell me what he did. I want you to be responsible for what you have done in this situation. So then I'd have Roman do the same thing. So then it results in this, okay? So how about you guys now make it right with each other? So they each would then apologize, ask for forgiveness, okay? And then instantly I would see this. And again, 99% of the time, it'd be an instant, okay, I'm sorry, please forgive me. And they'd be done with it and then go on the rest of their day. And then we didn't have this crazy bickering, fighting, and arguing with each other, but there was more harmony that happened. So again, if they wake up and they're already fighting, it's not because of something that happened that morning. It has to do with something that happened before. And when you sit down with them and you let them confess, then you'll see that, it was something that they did before. It wasn't now. And they get to learn that their action produces a reaction in somebody else, and then that reaction in someone else then produces another reaction in the other. So let's get down to the bottom of it. You got to sit down, ask questions, listen, bring the harmony with, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and then move on, okay? Parents we got to get better. And it's the same, by the way, with employees. It's exactly the same. I mean, seriously, raising kids and working with employees is the same. It's the same. It's the same. So it's important to get it out, talk about it. I'm sorry, please forgive me, be done, and that's it. And move on. All right, this is Dani Johnson. I've got Karina that's on line 6. We're going to take her call as soon as we're done with this next break. Let's handle the communication issue that's going on that's causing hatred or malice or frustration or distrust or sadness, maybe even causing you to feel lonely. That's what happens to us. We can feel lonely and isolated just because of miscommunication. 844-200-DANI. That's 3264. Or Dani Johnson Live on Facebook or Twitter. We'll continue after this. Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. The most common question I get usually are from people who are trying to juggle their life. They've got kids who are involved in all kinds of activities. They've got business or their job, finances, trying to get out of debt, plus all their church activities and all the volunteer activities, and they're pulling their hair out going, how do I juggle this all? Man, I once lived just like that until I learned Time Secrets. Time Secrets showed me how to be able to cut my hours from 100 hours a week that I was working down to 20 hours a week and tripled my income as a direct result with what I learned. Time Secrets also showed me how to get my priorities in order, which healed up my marriage. And I became a mother that I was proud of versus becoming the mother I didn't want to be. And so if you feel like your world is running around in all kinds of different circles, you can fix that. Call 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880 for Time Secrets.
Why don't you groom your kids for success?
What's the option?
Letting your daughter hang out with ne'er-do-wells and eventually bringing you a grandchild with a pierced navel?
Don't get a grandbaby with a pierced navel.
Listen to Dani Johnson.
It'll turn things around.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
Some months ago, I had gotten this email. I was off on a trip. I was in Russia. And I had gotten this email from one of the guys that I work with and been working with for about 9 years. And he said, he's like, oh my gosh, a war broke out between, and I'll just give 2 fake names, a war broke out between Bob and Sue. And he's like, and then this other thing happened, and I didn't know what to do. And so, yeah, raising kids and a team, a staff, can be very similar. I literally felt like I was talking to the babysitter who was telling me, giving me a bad report about 2 of my children who were acting like, 3rd and 4th graders as how they were talking to each other. They had a cat fight within the office. Yeah. So, literally, you can have those same exact situations that you have at home, like what I was talking about to Michelle, who had written a question on Facebook about her 2 children that woke up fighting with each other, to the same as inside of your office. And when you let things fester, right? So somebody said someone had a snide remark, or let's try this, Sue is PMSing, which is a reality, friend, a reality. Or she broke up with her boyfriend, and she brings that drama to work. And Bob, she's snappy. So then Bob snaps, so Sue and Bob now are like, and can you just see the the cartoon of the Tasmanian devil. You know, all the dust is flying, rocks are flying. You know what I mean? Like, you know, spit is flying. I mean, everything is flying all over the place. And these guys just want to kill each other. I guarantee you that whenever somebody gets to that place of a full-on reaction like that, it is not because of what happened that day. It has to do because something happened in the background. It happened before. And so that's why it's so important. Again, get together, air it out. We now are going to get a wooden spoon. I had a talk with our team right before I left last night. It's like, I have totally given so-and-so the full rights that if anyone acts like a third grader, well, we're just going to show the spoon and say, hello, you don't need a beating, do you? I'm kind of joking, but it really was a message to say, can we get a good report? Mom and Dad are leaving. We need a good report. That might be good. Anyway, so what challenges you might be happening at work? Let's go ahead and see what we can do to solve them. I've got Karina from New York on line 6. Karina, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hey, Dani, how are you?
Very good, thanks.
I just had a simple question about work and things because I've used job domination and the skills and gems and dynamic influence and things like that at my job, and I've gotten very good ratings. And I went to my boss, and I've gone to him several times over, and I sat down with him after the last first steps and just said, hey, the amount of work that I'm getting, I could do it in like 20 to 30 hours a week. You know, what else do you have me to do? What else can I help to do? Can I help with this, that, and, you know, things like that. And he basically, after a good amount of conversation, he said to me that there is nothing else that he has to offer me. He noticed that my skill level is really extended past what he has.
Wow.
And the only thing that he could recommend is that I would do an MBA and move on or move to a different job, in which case it would give me a really good recommendation. He said he doesn't want me to leave because he enjoys working with me, but at the same time, he notices that my skill set is very different and at a higher level than what is required for my job.
Wow.
So I'm in a spot where I'm just like, I really appreciate a good feedback. I enjoy working with my team, but I'm, for most of the time, for 10 to 15 hours a week, I just sit and twiddle my thumb. And I'm like, can I go home half day since I'm finished at my job? And they're telling me, no, I can't go because they want me to be on call 24 for the 8 hours that I'm working.
Wow.
And so I'm not sure what to do with that. About, you know, I'm just like,
okay. Well, Karina, let me just speak into this. I think there's another conversation you can have with your boss. And that conversation would be, what are areas inside of the business that need improvement? What are some other areas that where there's holes or there are serious frustrations that that need to be solved? I'd be looking for how you can bring more value. And by the way, congratulations. I mean, you're a perfect testimony for job domination and all of our communication training in that it's now brought you to the top of where you're at. And your boss is like, I don't have anything else that you can do. Your skill set has improved. And you know, it's awesome that you can get 40 hours worth of work done inside of 15 to 20 hours a week. That's amazing. You are a dream employee. I'm shocked that he is saying what he's saying, and they'd rather you sit there and twiddle your thumbs. Karina, that's not an option for you. You want to be that 2%er that is bringing value. So I would go back and ask the question. And by the way, he's not the owner of the business, correct?
No, I work for the federal government. So he went up to his boss and stuff, and he went up a few levels to find out on my behalf because he didn't know what else he could do at his level.
Right.
And they told him the same thing because the other people who are in my position are working for 40 hours. So we're all doing the same thing across the board, but my work is taking less than their work. And it doesn't look good for my peers. But at the same time, I want to be able to be that 2%er and be able to earn more money and, you know, be efficient.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then here's what I would do. I would completely request a meeting with people who are higher up and say, what other career paths could I be looking into? What other problems could I help solve here? Because I'm able to get this work done in this amount of time. Maybe it needs to be that you are helping to manage those other people on that team. You know, maybe there's a sub-level management position where you could assist the manager in helping the others get their work done faster as well. that
I
might.
am doing that. I'm doing that for 3 people right now, and I just took on a 4th person that I'm working with, and I started working with them last week.
Wow.
And helping them to close people on their recruiting and to increase the amount of students who come into our program.
Okay, there you go.
So
You're already working in that direction. I promise you this. I promise you that you continue to make yourself valuable even for the federal government, okay? Don't let this thing get into your head of they just want me to sit and twiddle my thumbs. No, that's not an option for you. You find a workaround and you find other problems that can be solved there inside of that office. And I literally would be asking to just meet some of those higher up people so that you can find out what you can be doing for the other 20 hours a week. Right? And say, I would really not rather sit here and do nothing. I really would rather help everything become more efficient. So what other career paths can I be looking in within the same corporation? Or even do this, Karina, why don't you look at what the inefficiencies are and how you can solve them? And I would do this. Ask God, show me, Lord, where there are inefficiencies and where things could be optimized, made easier, made better, more profitable, so that I can raise my value here. You'd be amazed what kind of solutions you come up with. Because it sounds like you already came up with one place of like, okay, I get everything done faster than the rest of these people. Well, then let me help these people get their stuff done faster as well. That you already kind of created a little niche for yourself. But I think there's more. And I think you need to be asking not just the boss you have, but go above him and find out what else can be done and where your skill sets can be better used amongst that entire organization. Because I know they need people like you. There's no question about that. So I am so proud of you, first of all. Proud of you. Man, this is awesome. That you're not like most of the people that are out there that are in a situation where they are twiddling their thumbs. They're Facebooking the extra 4 hours a day. They're spending the government's money foolishly and the time foolishly. Gosh, there you go, right? There is, of course, the crazy inefficiency of our government. Oh, no, there's nothing else you can do. Just sit there, twiddle your thumbs. Yeah, you have to be here. You got to spend the 8 hours. Whatever. Anyway, a true 2%er is going to find their path. A true 2%er, which I believe Karina is going to carve out a path, whether it's blowing through a door somewhere. They're going to find a way to make their skill sets more valuable at work and help the organization do better. There's no question about it. All right, this is Dani Johnson. Speaking of which, she mentioned a few things: job domination, magnetic influence. I just love it. I love it when we have a caller who calls in and says, this is what I've done. So job domination actually shows you how to become more valuable at work, which makes you more money. But if you don't have that, I would definitely start. We've got a free book on our website, First Steps to Wealth. Again, that's First Steps to Wealth. DaniJohnson.com is the website. You can get an ebook or you can get a physical copy of the book. If you pay for the shipping to get the $15 book to your house, then we'll send you the book for free. But if you don't want to pay the shipping to get it to your house, then you can just download the book and start reading it right there on your iPad or even your phone or your computer, however which way that you're most comfortable reading it. But dive into it. Learn these powerful communication skills that makes it so that your boss is sitting there going, gosh, you're so fast and you're getting everything done and wow, it's amazing. Okay, you want that. You've already gotten several raises in a place where people don't get raises. Come on now. I'm excited for you. So anyway, this is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more of the Dani Johnson Show and helping to improve your communication skills and solving those problems right after this.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your freedom, your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
So, politicians are all like, let me be clear, and I'll give you something you've never gotten anywhere else before.
How's that working for you?
You know what? She's tired of that mess. How about this?
You listen to her.
She brings you hope.
You make the change.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
You know, we have more control over our lives than we ever realize. It's so easy for us to blame other people for frustrating us. It's so easy for us to point the finger at other people that we're working with or living with and say, gosh, you are just not listening to me. Versus take a deep breath and say, okay, how could I communicate better? How can I get my point across? This is what's super important. So I said I'd be taking your callers. This is the last segment of our show. And the phone number is 844-200-3264, line 6. I've got Jamie from Texas. Jamie, welcome. Sorry. Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, Dani. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Well, I actually responded to your message on Facebook about, is your spouse and kids driving you crazy? And, well, I have a 2- and 3-year-old toddlers, and they're always stealing stuff from each other. I do time out. I try to explain to them the best that I feel that I can, and it just seems like that it's not working, and they go back to doing the same thing, and they fight with each other, take things from each other, rip up books. I have to lay down with them for nap time, and yeah, I need some help.
I'm sorry, Jamie, that I'm laughing, but I so remember those days. I so completely remember those days. And now, like, my kids are like big people. You know, my 15-year-old is the size of a man. He looks like he's 25. It's terrible. But he's my baby now. But anyway, I had 2 kids that were that close in age. They were 18 months apart. And actually, even the one that was 3 years older than that, you know, still all that stuff happens. Okay, so number 1, Mommy, I promise you, this is not going to last forever. This is not going to last forever. I remember feeling like this was never going to stop. This is only temporary, and God's grace is sufficient for today. I know you feel like you're a constant referee, and I'm so proud of you that you're calling to find out a solution on how to fix this, because most parents just check out. They just check out. They ignore it. They let their kids become crazy mongrels. They tune the kids out, and then we just have a house that's filled with screaming ran by the children. That will not be your home. You're a mom looking for help, and I'm really, really proud of you. So this is what I did with my kids. 2 and 3 years old, right? We are now learning to talk to each other. Okay, so it's challenging. You know, the 3-year-old, you know, probably doesn't say all the words just right. And you know, the 2-year-old is just kind of forming any bit of communication language. Did you teach your kids sign language by any chance?
No.
You didn't. Okay. Do you have Grooming the Next Generation for Success?
Yes, I just got it, actually.
Okay, so awesome. That book is going to become your mom Bible. It has scripts in it about how to be able to solve these issues with your kids. So first of all, the thing is that when the kids like right away are being, frustrated with each other, it's because there's unresolved issues between the two of them. It's not the current toy that was ripped up. It's the one that happened 5 times ago. So that's what's happening. It's like there's a festering that's happening between the 2 and the 3-year-old. It's important that they have separate playtime. So I would have about 2 times a day where all of the kids were separated in their own space, whether for a playpen for the 2-year-old and the bedroom for the 3-year-old with the gate at the bedroom so they could not get out. And this is what I would just look at them and say, everyone needs their own private time, their own personal time. And so this would be their play hour, their own play hour where they had to be entertaining themselves by themselves. So that they had, number one, that gave me some peace and quiet for a little while. It did, right? I looked forward to that time of the day, okay? And so this also made it that when they got to come together, they were excited to play together after being separated for that hour. Because think about it. These kids are together all the time, aren't they?
Yes, they are every day.
Every day. Did you say you're a single mom?
No, I'm a stay-at-home.
Stay-at-home mom. So look at this. Whenever you take 3 people that are together 24/7, you know there's going to be collisions.
Yeah.
So there has to be some separated time. And what I found is that then when they came together, they actually were looking forward to it at that time. That's one strategy that you can use right away. Mommy, get through that book now. You need to read that thing. I'm serious. You need, in fact, right as soon as you hang up with me, guys, we're going to have playtime. It's going to be so much fun. Joey, you're going to play with your trucks, and whoever the other one is, you're going to play with this, and you guys are, and they might cry and whine about it, but pretty soon they're going to shut up and they'll start playing with their own stuff and be entertained by their own thing. And then Mom, you get through a couple chapters in that hour of that book, because it's really important that you have that time to learn and to grow. So just again, this is not going to last forever, Mommy. It's only temporary. It's only temporary. I remember asking the question 12 years into it, like, is this ever going to stop? Okay, yes, it's going to improve. Yes, it's going to get better. And as they grow, and as they hurt each other, right, in this fighting, that 2-year-old and that 3-year-old, they can still apologize to each other. You can still have them say, I'm sorry, please forgive me for not honoring you. You can have each one of them say that. And then, of course, there's discipline for whatever the action it was that they took. And so the book talks about that. So there's discipline. There's a script in there to teach you how to walk them through it, that you're creating harmony instead of frustration for you and for them. Okay, so awesome. Jamie, I'm really proud of you. Thank you so much. I can't wait to hear how your life has improved after you're done applying grooming the next generation for success. Well, that's it for us. This is Dani Johnson. Listen, I know that you want to have a better life. I know that you want to improve. And you want to have success in your marriage, with your kids, your finances, your business, or your career, and with your God. I know that you don't want to be just average or mediocre. You're here because you have a desire to succeed. And I am so proud of you for tuning in each and every day of the week to this show. Hey, if today's show helped you in any way, please come on over to DaniJohnson.com, and right on the post where you can see where today's show was, just tell us how it impacted you. Send us an email even, or come over to Facebook or Twitter and communicate with us over there. We'd love to hear if this content is improving your life. We'd love to hear it. It eggs us on to continue on. So join me tomorrow, same time, same place, same station, for another exciting show to help improve your life. This is Dani Johnson, signing off. Have a great day. God bless you. Bye-bye. I remember being homeless and broken in every way, and being overloaded with financial pressure, the pressure that I was a failure, the social pressure, everything that I felt like was crashing down on top of me. And at the same time, I felt so alone until I learned the strategies of first steps to success. You have the chance, my friend, to annihilate all of your debt. Think about that. You have the chance to grow your income through your current career, or even learning to start a brand new business that will be profitable. You also have the chance for learning how to motivate the people that are in your life that are driving you crazy, and how to have significant breakthrough, not only spiritually, but physically, financially, and socially, and business-wise. And so I'm excited to see you at First Steps to Success. It's coming up January 17th through the 19th. Get yourself registered today, 888-757-8880. There's a seat with your name on it, friend. 888-757-8880.